Welcome, magical ones, to an alchemical life where our mission is to liberate humanity from limitation and suffering and bring magic back to the world. One life, one moment, one heartbeat at a time.
My desire is to create this alchemical portal that you can enter into and interact with the tools and the teachings and the information and the other people here and the community aspect and all of it to come back to this true self, which is the I am presence, which is your God self. But I picked, my soul picked the circumstances that I was living in so that I would so deeply understand the energy of being suppressed and subjugated and disempowered, and then come out of it and be able to shine a light and say hey, this is absolutely possible. Hello, everybody. Welcome. This is my first video post this way on Substack. And I'm still figuring out exactly what I'm going to do with it. And to be honest, when I first turn the camera on, usually all of my thoughts leave my brain for about a minute. So let me get them back. Yeah, I kind of have two reasons for turning the camera on this morning. One is we've had a lot of new people come into the space, and I thought it would be a really good opportunity to kind of recommunicate the vision and the heart behind Ophiuchus Moon Alchemy, because I recognize that the name needs a little explanation. You might know what alchemy is, you might know what moon is, you might probably not know what Ophiuchus is. And yet the name has deep meaning for me. And so even though I've thought of changing it, it's staying the way it is for now. So I thought I would just kind of reintroduce us to what this space is and what we're co-creating here together and kind of the ethos behind the name. And then the second purpose was really to share kind of a vulnerable story. I went through a really strong self-doubt, imposter syndrome portal for about 4 days. Just got out of it this morning. And because this is the nature of the alchemy that I am inviting us into and that I hope we co-create in this space, I wanted to kind of share exactly what happened and the breakdown of it to show, just it's a perfect real lifetime example of what this space is all about. So I will start with what Ophiuchus Moon is. So I'm a storyteller by nature. That is my first, and oftentimes I share truths in the form of stories. So essentially, Ophiuchus Moon Alchemy, here's the story. Ophiuchus Moon Alchemy was born really at the end of 2024 and the beginning of 2025 as I was going through kind of a death portal, really death of old identities were just flying off of me, and it was hard. It was not easy. I posted a lot about it. I've told the story in previous posts, but essentially I've had a history of narcissistic abuse. My mom was narcissistic. I lived with her for 34 years. This is the short version of my story, but I lived with her for 34 years, and it was really a one-woman cult. And then I was in the Christian church for quite a while. I just left that church 3 years ago. So all that to say, I, for most of my life, outsourced my power and lived in an illusion and believed a lie, And so as I woke up, I had to go through this process of shedding all of the layers of programming and all of that kind of stuff that were piled on top of me and my true self, which is why the passion of this place is to help you find your true self. So I left my mom about 10 years ago. Someday I may do a podcast and just share my story, because it's literally it was dramatic. But I left her 10 years ago. And so the last 10 years have been this really deep dive into me reclaiming my identity and finding my true self again. And sure, I just went through an imposter syndrome portal this past weekend, So I'm not I'm just walking on the clouds all the time and feel so self-confident in every moment. And at the same time, I have found my true self. I can tell you that without doubt in my mind. Yeah, I came back to the seed of the true self, which is actually the I am presence that we all have within us. There is a principle that is very much at the core of Ophiuchus Moon Alchemy, which is we are all a fractal of God. We are all divine. We are divinity in flesh. We are God in a meat suit, however many different ways you want to say that. And the purpose of this space is to peel away and provide a space for you, because really this is a personal journey. I can't do it for you. Nobody could do it for me. So I'm not here to like do this for you, but my desire is to create this like alchemical portal that you can enter into and interact with the tools and the teachings and the information and the other people here and the community aspect and all of it to come back to this true self, which is the I am presence, which is your God self. And that exists, excuse me, that exists outside of time and space. Like everything that has ever, I can say it with absolute confidence, everything that has ever happened in my life has not touched, and I mean a lot has happened, but none of it touched the real true me, because I was only ever watching the movie of my life. I was not ever in the movie. I'm always, the real me is always the I am that is a part of God. Now, the ego and the personality and the identity that I took on for so many years, and that I'm still in the process of like shedding, sure, like that took some blows, you know, because I identified with my circumstances and I identified with my body and I identified with the people around me and I outsourced my power. And so all of that to say, like, this space is really primarily intended to be here so that you can cleave away the belief systems and cleave away the limiting programs and the subconscious programming. And don't even get me started on societal conditioning. And like, there's just so many, as we grow up and as we age, there's so many things that get piled on top of the true and authentic you. And so the very first thing is like, let's uncap that. Let's find that seed. For me, for instance, the seed that's on the inside of me that I know that I'm here to shine is really centered around the energy of liberation. You can probably imagine why, you know, but I picked, like my soul picked the circumstances that I was living in so that I would so deeply understand the energy of being suppressed and subjugated and disempowered, and then come out of it and be able to shine a light and say like, hey, this is absolutely possible. There is nothing, I can tell you with absolute certainty, there are no circumstances that can subjugate you unless you subjugate you. And it is a personal choice. Now, when you're raised in a certain situation like I was, it doesn't feel like you have many options, but the time will always come. So anyway, again, that's probably like another post, another article. But the point was sharing, like, I came back to this like singular truth that's on the inside of me. No matter where I go and what I do, the words liberation and magic are always what keep coming up for me. And so I know I'm here to help liberate humanity from subjugation, which is really all in our ego mind. It is not coming from an external source, because we are all part of the same consciousness. We are all part of the same God, part of the same whole. And so it's impossible for someone else to subjugate me, because they are me. So what we're really doing is liberating ourselves from the ego mind. We're liberating ourselves from the self-imposed limitations that we have placed on ourselves. And then the magic aspect of it, which is also alchemy, because my unique vibration, my deepest chorus belief is we are all magical. To me, what we deem as magic is actually our normal state of being. It is our innate birthright. It is our normal way of being and operating in this world. So I know I'm here to liberate humanity from those ego mindsets and help bring magic back to the world through the lens of, let's remember who we are and like remember our ability to be divine creators, to create the fabric of our life. We are the ones creating our reality. I know it doesn't always feel that way. And I know it feels like, holy crap, I would not create this, but it's true. It's metaphysically true. What is on the inside of you is what is being reflected on the outside. It is what is being reflected to you in the world around you. Now, getting into like global affairs is a whole different conversation. So I'm not saying you're creating the wars and although on a collective level, yes, we are all creating that. So yeah, I feel like I hopped around a little bit, but I hope you are getting a feel of like what Ophiuchus Moon Alchemy is here for. Now, a little bit about Ophiuchus and why I chose that symbolism. You may or may not know, Ophiuchus is the 13th, what's called the 13th sign in the zodiac. And it is really the symbol of the alchemist. It in the sky, it is the serpent bearer, so it looks like a man holding a serpent. Some depictions actually look at it and see an ascending snake and a descending snake. And then for any like esoteric junkies like me out there, you're probably getting like Egypt vibes from that, some Kundalini vibes. He's also the energy of rebirth and resurrection. It was named after Asclepius, who was the Greek god of healing, and he was known to be able to raise things from the dead. If you go around the zodiacal wheel, you have this wheel of progression of consciousness, basically, starting with Aries, where you're born, and then it keeps graduating through the signs. And if you know anything about astrology, when you get to Scorpio, it's always been billed as death and rebirth. When I learned about Ophiuchus, which is right after Scorpio, Scorpio is death, and then Ophiuchus is rebirth. And so the reason I named all of this to explain, the reason that I named this Ophiuchus Moon Alchemy is I have an Ophiuchus Moon, personally. Also, it's because to me, Ophiuchus is that energy that actually allows us to ascend. Because without the energy of rebirth or transformation or alchemy, which is the turning of one substance into another, we stay stuck on this. Like, look at the zodiac. It's like we just do the same thing over and over and over again. But if you add that 13th sign in there, now all of a sudden you have a step up. And you start evolving up the frequencies, and you become a new version of yourself every single day, every single month, every single zodiacal calendar. And so this energy that I'm infusing into this space is really the idea of, let's go up. Like, let's not do this anymore. Let's take this power of alchemy, which is, again, the transforming of one substance to another, turning pain into medicine, fear into courage. I can tell you that I've done this so many times in my life. Anything that is on the inside of you that is causing you suffering can be alchemized into another substance. It can be alchemized into another energy. Energy never dies. It just transforms. So, and you have the ability and the power as the alchemist to do that transformation in yourself for the benefit of your life. So this space is really here for the personal alchemy. For me, it's all about the application to the self. How can we use these principles of alchemy, of transformation, of transcendence, transfiguration, transmutation? There's a lot of trans words. How can we not just use, but master them so that we are truly creating the life that we dream of? We're creating the world that we dream of. Have I said everything? I think that covers it. If I think of something else, I'll maybe swing back. But now would be a good time, because I'm talking about that personal transformation. Now would be a good time to just kind of share what happened for me the last 3 or 4 days. I just fell into like a real portal of imposter syndrome, essentially. Like, some good things happened in my business. I'm just starting my business. I've been in ultra healing mode for about 10 years. Been pursuing a lot of creative projects and that kind of thing. And then, diving into personal self-healing as much as I possibly could, because I needed it so much. And now that I have done this for 10 years, I've come to this place where I'm like, ooh, I can serve now. Like, I'm good. Sure, I'm still working through my stuff, but I can actually serve people who are also on this journey of reclaiming their true selves. And for me, a big focus of it has to do with like supporting artists and creatives who, are basically experiencing failure to launch. Well, of course, then when I go to launch, I'm going to hit the very thing that is standing in my way, but also is most likely standing in the way of a lot of other people. And it's definitely imposter syndrome. Like I said, I had a couple of really good things happen last week, and I hit my cap. It was like all of a sudden my ego was like, this is no longer safe. And so these tapes started playing in my brain of, I don't know what to do. What am I doing here in this space? Who do I think I am to share anything with anybody? I'm still figuring out life. I'm not an expert. I'm not a guru. Side note, nobody is a guru. That's actually one of the mandates of this space, is be your own guru. Obviously, again, having lived in many, many cult environments, I have been in so many situations where there's somebody standing at the front of the room telling everybody who they are and what they believe. We are done with that, guys. We are so done with that. I mean, not only is it the age of Aquarius, which is the outsider, it is the free thinker, it is the radical and the rebel and all of those things. We're just also evolved past the point where that has any relevance. The most important thing for our community and our world right now is for all of us to show up as our authentic, true self with a capital T, with a capital S. Be the authentic you. And that's going to mean that you believe things differently than I believe them. You see things differently than I see them. This is how we create unity consciousness, is with us all showing up with our own fractal of the divine. That was a little soapbox moment. But anyway, I started having all of these tapes. Like, what am I doing? I would sit down at my computer and be like, I don't know what to write. Like, I have nothing to say to people. What am I doing? And simultaneously, like, all of these good things are happening while I'm struggling with this. So anyway, all of that to say, I found myself this past Saturday, like I got to the end of the week, and then Saturday morning I was like, wow, I'm exhausted. I don't know what I'm doing. And I found myself asking these questions of like, what am I really providing here in this space for the people that are a part of this community? Which is a good question to ask. Obviously, like, it's a very strategic question to ask, but it's also good to have a mission and good to have a goal. But I wasn't asking it from curiosity and play. I was asking from it from having an attachment to an outcome. My ego had gotten in there, and instead of me showing up just being like, hey, this is me and this is what I have to bring to the table right now and this is what's true in this moment and I'm going to trust that it serves, I was trying to get ahead. Like, I was trying to, okay, I'm going to like build this like block structure of what I'm doing and know what is going on, and that will somehow give me the sense of security to keep moving forward. And it didn't. Like, first of all, when I put myself in that position, I'd never come up with the answers. Like, maybe some of you have been in this space where you're like asking from an ego place, and then all of a sudden everything that you know to be true, that you tangibly know to be true, leaves your body and your mind. And all of a sudden you're like, I'm so confused. Which, to maybe like, yeah, give this some richer context, through the process, and this is where the alchemy comes in. Here's my process. I get up in the morning, I meditate. I actually do a Hawaiian breathwork modality that really like grounds me in my body. And then I'll journal, and I just journal through these ego questions and really like continually asking myself, why do I believe this? Why is this painful? Why is this causing suffering? What? And then you just follow the trail of your answers to kind of get to the core of what's happening. And so I realized on Saturday that the core of it was, I don't know what to do. And this came through again yesterday. There was this big chunk of me that was like, I don't know what to do. And because I don't know what to do, I'm not going to move. And essentially what I pinpointed was, it was a belief that was seated in my childhood, because to know what to do and to move forward with confidence was actually dangerous where I grew up. Like, that was not okay. It was not going to go well, because my mother was very much in charge. And if I ever took sovereignty and just moved forward with confidence, I was very often punished for it. And so, no shame to my mother. I have so totally fully forgiven her. We're not talking because she's not safe. And I thank the universe for everything that I went through with her. Everything. So anyway, like, I just saw this pattern of, okay, I actually keep myself safe by telling myself I don't know what to do. By continually causing that doubt in my mind. And I started to pick it apart. And this takes some time and some separation from the emotions, and you start to just kind of pick it apart. So I like really sat with my higher self. I talked to my soul. I was like, soul, I'm like seeing this like, I don't know what to do thing, and I don't trust myself. I know that I'm not trusting myself. So what is at the basis of that? And the answer that I got was that essentially because I had felt very uninspired all week, even though I still showed up and write, I felt like, bleh. And so I was shown, like, you're living off of inspiration. You're living off of this like high voltage energy because you don't trust yourself enough to just show up and do the thing. You feel like you have to still have an outside voice tell you what to write, tell you what to do, looking for the signs everywhere. And I was like, wow, okay. So I'm still outsourcing. And this is somehow absolving me of responsibility. And that was what I saw, is like, oh, I'm choosing to believe that I don't know what to do and that I need inspiration in order to function, because there's still this piece of me that doesn't want to fully take responsibility for my life, because when I fully took responsibility for my life, I was punished big time. Okay. So I saw all that on Saturday. And then here's one really good tool. I talked to a very wise friend and I shared with her what I was going through. And it's so, so powerful to have reflections, because your friends can always be the one, if they're good friends, they're the ones who aren't going to get down in the pit with you and be like, yeah, man, I don't know what to do either. I feel so shitty. Like, I'm just a failure. I know why you feel like you're a failure, because I feel like I'm one too. The really good friends are the ones who are like, hey, I hear a little bit of shame there. Maybe you want to do some investigation there. And that's what my friend did. She was like, if you're worried about it being your fault, then like, is there some shame there? So I worked with it all day. And through the process of working with it, chatting with her, I came to this truth of, I keep telling myself I don't know what to do to keep myself safe. I have just programmed myself with that so that I will never have to feel the shame of it didn't work out or it was my fault, because I was told that a lot. Like, everything was my fault. And so I have constructed this whole thing around, I don't know what to do. I'm so confused. I don't know what to do. Because that was the only way to keep my mom at bay when I was a really young girl, is like, I didn't do what you asked me to because I didn't know how to. I don't know what to do. So it's like so deep in there and so young and so primal. And yeah, like once I discovered that, then I could work with the shame. Basically, I alchemized the belief this morning. I alchemized the belief, and that's why I'm like here right now. I alchemized the belief this morning by identifying it, by seeing it clearly, and then by, with my higher self, basically just choosing to cut that loop, cut that thread, cut that belief system. I actually envisioned like burning it in a fire, and then the ashes became this like beautiful fairy dust that is the belief system of, I do know what to do. I wanted to share that because like I'm here in this space and I'm creating and I'm putting myself out there, and we're talking about alchemy, and I think it's so important for you to see what it looks like in real time, and to know that those of us that are out there that are teaching or guiding or leading in any sort of a way, like we're still on the journey. And what better way of like serving you than to show you when I feel vulnerable, when I feel less than my best, and like what that looks like and how I work with it in my life. So yeah, I guess maybe to end, I would just say like trying to make this like super actionable. The top 3 ways that I worked with it this past weekend was don't identify with it. Like when you start to, and this again takes some time to have distance from your feelings enough to be able to know that you are not your thoughts and you are not your emotions, but to the best of your ability, when a story like that starts playing in your head, do not identify with it. Recognize that that is the ego. That is a part of you trying to keep you safe from perceived danger. And just create that space. This is not me. This is a thought, and I am not my thoughts. Second tool I would say is I really am such a firm believer in journaling. Like when you start to have those thoughts, just journal them. You know, even if you can't do it till the next day, or walk and talk, you can like record on your cell phone. Just like find a way, whatever your way is, to get to the bottom of the thought. When something like this comes up, I start with, okay, I'm feeling imposter syndrome. Why am I feeling imposter syndrome? Well, because I feel like I don't have anything to share. Why do I not feel like I have anything to share? And you just like follow the thread until you hit something that is like, oh, that's the truth. Like when I'm telling myself I don't know what to do because I'm protecting myself from shame. I'm protecting myself from having to take responsibility if things go belly up. Yeah, so that would be tip number 2. And tip number 3, I would say, is find a way to alchemize it. So again, once you've identified the thing, the belief, the emotion, the whatever it is, find a way to transform it into something else. You can visualize, as I said, like you can visualize it burning and becoming, I see like the ash becoming like fairy dust, but whatever visual comes to your mind, like just go inside, identify the thought, and with your intention. It is so simple, because magic and alchemy don't have to be hard, like this. Yes, I know there's like spells and all that kind of thing. That's not necessarily the kind of magic I practice. The kind of magic I practice is harnessing your will and your intention and your desire and then working with unseen forces, and literally happens just by you bringing awareness, because we're working with personal alchemy here. So when you bring awareness to a belief system, it already starts to alchemize just by the fact that you have brought what is in the subconscious up to the conscious. And so then if you just intend to turn that belief system, or to turn that emotion, or what, the programming or whatever it is that you're identifying, in some way intend to turn it into what would actually serve and support your life, then it will start to happen. Like, this doesn't mean I'm never going to have another imposter syndrome thought, but now I have this awareness of, oh, when those thoughts come up, I'm trying to protect myself, because actually things are going well, and there's a piece in me that doesn't believe that I deserve that, and there's a piece in me that doesn't want to take responsibility for my life. And so this is a self-protective measure. So now that I have the awareness, now I can choose. That's what alchemy is in our context. Yeah, I think that's all I have to share. I hope that was super, super helpful. And yeah, sending you so, so much love. And thank you for being here in this space. And I'm excited to continue to grow with you.